The most disturbing CCTV incidents. Let's lock in. Okay, my bad, chat. Valorant is like knows it knows.
A single punch destroyed this man's life. These are 3 disturbing
Abyssal Detective 2, lock in. Most disturbing CCTV incidents, lock in again. That's the UK.
CCTV incidents that remain unsolved
Lock
to this
in.
day. Fleeing the unknown.
What?
What makes a man run for his life in broad daylight through an airport, across a field, and into the woods, never to be seen again? Lars Mittank, a 28-year-old German, walked in Varna Airport on July 8, 2014 for his flight. Within minutes, he vanished into thin air. Last CCTV footage shows him barefoot in a yellow t-shirt.
Are we sure he didn't like? Because I'm not talking about like, see, like people that are like a bit, they've got autism, right? Some of them have this thing where like, well, I think it's majority of them, sorry, have this thing where it's like they're like a lot younger than what they actually they in their mind they're a lot younger than what they actually are, so they kind of just act like a child sometimes. Well, not act, they are, to them they are a child. So I can imagine, what if he has this and he's just like done an absolute runner, then he can't.
Running frantically across the tarmac and looking over his shoulder. But who or what was he running from? To understand Lars' disappearance, we will have to start with some context. Lars was an ordinary warehouse worker from Itzehoe.
Hold on, how many subscribers this guy got? 45k. People check. You need to check this guy out, bro.
He had no criminal record, no history of mental illness, and no obsession with danger or travel.
For some reason, that looks edited.
This was his first trip abroad without his parents. 9 days ago,
that kind of proves my point on the fact that, like, especially if he's got autism, without like a carer or parent to kind of help him out, he probably feels a bit overwhelmed, and he might have just ran out if he does have that type of autism. He could have just bullied it, and he's having no idea. It could be. It might not be, but it could be. Because people with autism are still allowed to work. They could just get easily overwhelmed, though. That's really the only difference. There's nothing wrong with them, though. No.
Landed in Varna, Bulgaria, with 5 of his friends for a week-long trip.
No, he's got his friends at least.
They spent their days drinking cheap beer at the Golden Sands bar, swimming and watching football. But on July 6th, just one night before their flight home, everything changed. At a bar near the Golden Sands Strip, Lars got into a heated argument with a group of German tourists over football. The group was a supporter of Bayern Munich, the rival of Lars' favored Werder Bremen.
Who the fuck supports this team? I've never heard of this team in my life. I know what Bayern Munich is. No idea what this is, bro. Oh wait, why? I went into the wrong one. My bad. Sorry. Moral of the story. Actually, I'll look back because they got into a fight. Bro, what? What? So they got into a fight.
The argument quickly over football. The group was a supporter of Bayern Munich, the rival.
I know what this team is.
Of Lars' favored.
No idea what this team is. Absolutely no idea. No idea. Never seen it before.
Didn't stand a chance against the 4 of them. One of the men who he argued with punched Lars, leaving him visibly shaken with a bruised jaw and a ruptured eardrum.
How have you... I'm sorry, right? I might not be... I'm no fucking martial artist expert, right? But how have you let... I mean, how slow he... Obviously, he's in slow-mo. I'm not that stupid, right? But see, like, when you watch it...
Stand a chance against the 4 of them. One of the...
He was ready to punch, right? And watch him, he just doesn't move.
Man who he argued with,
he actually puts his guard down.
Punched Lars, leaving him visibly shaken with a bruised jaw and a ruptured eardrum. When he returned to the hotel, he told his friends more than what had just happened. In a paranoid voice, Lars stated that it wasn't over, and those Germans would hire others to come after him.
Well, We've just witnessed a guy get hammered in the side of the face, right? And he's talking about, oh, the Germans are going to hire people to come after me about football. Maybe they will. Maybe he heard something, or he's been told something that we don't know, right? But it could also easily be that he's been hitting the head and he's just kind of a bit cuckoo. It could
The
be.
next
I'm
morning,
not saying
after
it.
examining his
It is,
injuries,
but
local doctors suggested that Lars shouldn't fly home yet. He also prescribed cefprozil, a common antibiotic.
would doctors like that be able to like tell that he's got that from the hit? Like, because obviously he's not went to the hospital. He just went to a doctor's office. Would they be able to tell he's got that, or would they not? I don't think they would be able to. I think it's kind of like a hospital or a specialist in that type of area would have to
But here's where
tell
it
you.
got complicated.
I'm gonna
That
clean my
drug,
keyboard after
though
this.
safe for most, can rarely cause psychotic side effects like paranoia and hallucinations.
Oh,
His friends
okay.
offered to stay back with him, but Lars insisted he'd be fine, so they left. Now he was left alone in a different country he knew no one in, with a brain that kept running wild.
So he's just going insane now.
He booked the Hotel Color for his one-night stay, but the staff soon found him pacing the halls, looking out the windows and whispering to himself. The CCTV footage shows him walking in and out of the elevator repeatedly, as if hiding from someone. At one point, he even called his mother Sandra at 3 a.m., frantically whispering into the phone,
"There's a group of men trying to attack me. They're gonna kill me."
He begged her to cancel all his credit cards and immediately book him a new flight. She tried to calm Lars down, but nothing seemed to work. And that night, he suddenly left the hotel, only to come back even more agitated than before. He called.
So what? He left and came back.
that?
I'm telling you, he's went insane.
44. Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible.
Called his mother again
Just
the
went
next
insane.
morning, saying he didn't feel safe and that they were getting closer. With just how panicked he was, it couldn't be just paranoia from medication. So, what
I reckon he's actually been hit in the head and something's went cuckoo inside, and that medication's just made it 10 times worse.
was Lars actually being followed? After a night of distress, it was
Well,
finally
we'll find
July
out.
8th, the day of his flight. Lars made his way to Varna Airport and texted his mom about arriving at the terminal and waiting for medical clearance to fly. When Dr. Kosta Kostov at the airport's medical office examined him, everything seemed fine.
Seemed fine.
However, Lars was trembling and his eyes were constantly darting to the door. When a construction worker entered the room in a blue shirt, Lars finally snapped. His pupils widened and he screamed, "I don't want to die here! I have to get out of here!" He ran out of the medical room and burst through
died.
the terminal door.
I'm telling you, he's went insane. He's definitely been hit in the head, and that medication's made it worse somehow. It's just amplified it.
Leaving his passport, phone, suitcase, and wallet behind. He kept running across the parking lot, down the
Running very
road,
fast,
and
is he?
toward a 6-foot chain link fence. Climbing it in seconds, he landed in a field of sunflowers and
Just darted
disappeared
it.
into
I
the
swear that's a law. I swear that's a law. You can't run through see like sunflowers. We find them. See if you like run through them or vandalize them in some way. I could have sworn there was something about that actually. That there was. I think remember the video. There was an angry guy, right, and he just hammers the living shit out of a sunflower, and a couple of them he just beats them up. He got sued for that. No, sorry, he got charged. He got charged for vandalism for that. I swear there's a law that you can't do it. I think there's something to do with like. Obviously the land or trespassing. Second of all, you're vandalizing some sort of like sacred thing. I can't remember.
forest beyond.
I don't know. Might be wrong.
That was the last time anyone ever saw Lars Mittank.
But it just never showed up
Bulgarian
again.
Police launched an immediate
What if he was getting chased? What if he's actually is dead? We don't know.
search with helicopters, canine dogs, and
What's that?
combed through the
Is that
forest.
a camera?
But there was no trace of Lars. Now, over the years, there were sightings of a man matching Lars' description, hitchhiking in Varna, another in Greece, and another in Germany, but none proved to be him. It was as if he'd vanished from reality itself. And that was most definitely not a side effect of cefprozil. The airport footage was leaked online, and
I reckon he has probably passed away. I can imagine so.
millions
Unless
of
he's just
internet
living off on
sleuths
his own.
analyzed it frame by frame, coming up with different theories. By 2018, Lars was even given the title of the most famous missing person on YouTube. According to the
Really?
famous drug theory, the antibiotic combined with head trauma must have caused Lars to
That's what I was
experience a
thinking.
drug-induced breakdown. Now, this would explain him frantically running into the woods and probably fainting from dehydration. However, Dr. Costa put a stop to those speculations.
Oh,
Turns
never mind
out,
then.
Lars never took those meds in the first place.
What?
So, he couldn't have side effects from meds he never took. Lars was punched in the head extremely hard, so him having a sudden psychotic break from trauma and stress seems like a more plausible theory.
I can imagine that might be what happened, but without the medication, I feel like it wouldn't be as bad as what it is unless he's been actually rocketed across concrete.
Amidst all speculation, the image of a man in a blue shirt who was seen for merely seconds in the doctor's office doorway before Lars fled sits at the top. Who was he? Why did Lars panic the moment he saw him? And although some sleuths claim he was just a construction worker, most theorists believe that man could be the one Lars was running from. To this day, Lars remains unfound. But the next character didn't
From what
only
we know,
try
he's a
to
construction
vanish
worker.
himself, he made others disappear.
What?
In the name of love. Final
Love?
act of revenge.
Is this gonna be like some yandere shit? I swear, bro.
Seeing the materials this man is buying, you might think he's going camping, but
What is he buying?
what
Rope?
he actually did with them shocked the entire community. This is Kyle Clifford,
This is Britain. I could tell by this guy, the way he looks, he's British.
26-year-old security guard from Hertfordshire who'd been dating John's youngest
British,
daughter
I knew it,
Louise
British.
for almost 18 months.
British.
By most accounts, things seemed fine between them. But in June 2024, things took a dramatic turn. Louise
hear it.
decided to end the relationship so she could have some space and start anew. However, Kyle wasn't ready.
I'm sorry, right, but I could never get behind why somebody would buy a dog. I don't know what the hype is around them. Well, even one of my pals has one of these dogs. Why of all dogs would you buy this one? I want to know why people buy these dogs. I'm not dissing anyone. I would just like to personally know why would people buy these dogs. I feel there's 10 times better looking ones.
To let go. Instead of moving on, his heartbreak turned into rage. In his mind, if he can't have her, no one else can.
So it is
He
like a
became
yandere type shit.
increasingly obsessed and began stalking Louise, messaging all her
Sorry, chat.
friends and watching her home. And when nothing worked, Kyle's fixation led to a terrifying plan. Over the months, he began purchasing weapons, a crossbow, a knife, a rope, and
I wouldn't call rope a weapon, but if we're gonna go for it, yeah. Crossbow hunting, knife hunting, rope hunting, camping. All of them are related to the same thing. But again, we're all talking about this guy that's apparently insane, so I'm not gonna say that's the same thing.
petrol. At the same
But
time,
that makes it look. I think that if he's planned that is very smart. To the point where all those purchases look like they're for camping or hunting. Very smart.
he went to Louise's home in Bushy, not to meet her, but to watch her house like a hunter studying his prey.
I'm sorry if I'm looking at the camera. I feel like it's not straight.
How she moves throughout the day. Even the security footage caught
I'm
Kyle's
sorry. This is gonna be
Apparently
really.
you can go from 0 to a complete site in just a single prompt.
There we go.
with Wix Harmony. I don't know if this is going to be possible. Or Vibe
Oh, I know
Coding
this.
meets
I
drag
thought
and drop freedom.
There it is.
creeping outside, but nobody put much thought into it.
Why didn't
believing
nobody
he'd
notice him?
eventually move on. What they didn't know was that he wasn't planning to reconcile.
Or
He was
move
planning
on.
something much worse. On July 9th, 2024,
That's
Kyle
face
came
cam's
to
not high
Louise's
enough.
house again with her belongings and a thank you note. He knew at the time that only her mother, 61-year-old Carol Hunt, and Louise would be inside with her sister,
knew.
Hannah Hunt, returning from seeing the stuff in his hand.
Oh,
he
shit.
believed he had come to say side with her sister, Hannah Hunt, returning from
Some. Isn't it really fitting as well that all their names are Hunt? Is that just like this is a very fitting second name. I was gonna say they're all the same, but it's only really those two.
work
Oh shit.
shortly after. Carol was the first one to greet him at the door. Seeing the stuff in his hand, she believed he had come to say the long overdue goodbye before moving on with his
What's
life.
there?
I mean, he did intend to do that, but not in a way she would have expected.
What'd
The
he do?
moment Louise's mother, Carol, let him into the living room, Kyle pulled out a knife and stabbed her in the chest and
So this is a yandere type shit. This is what this is. This is like if yeah, okay, this is fucked. This is what this is.
abdomen several times, ending her life instantly. And unfortunately, he was only getting started, patiently waiting for Louise to appear. When she
So he's
did,
gonna kill her
he
or not?
immediately overpowered and tied her up. But he didn't plan
Okay.
to end her life instantly like her mother's. First, he forced himself on her, inflicting her with unimaginable suffering, and finally shot her with a crossbow bolt. Reports
Holy
suggest
shit.
that he had kept Louise tied up and alive for 2 hours to bear everything. It's hard to fathom this was the same guy who claimed to be madly in love with her. Louise
This is like a next level of fucked up, bro. This is like genuinely bad.
was gone. So was her mother, but it still wasn't enough for him. Kyle now waited for Louise's sister Hannah to return from work. The moment she set foot inside, something felt wrong. The house was unusually quiet. And before she could react, Kyle appeared in the hallway with the crossbow in hand. He shot Hannah straight through the chest, causing her to collapse and bolted out the door. Minutes later, Kyle ditched his car near the neighborhood woods and disappeared without a trace.
I'm sorry I'm not talking. I'm just really like trying to take this in.
Back at the Hunt's home, somehow, Hannah was
Was
still
alive.
breathing. With the last ounce of her strength, she reached for her phone and dialed 999. But before help could arrive, she too had succumbed to her injuries.
Holy shit, this guy is actually a scumbag. Genuinely scum of the earth. I don't know how people can do this and think it's alright.
Later that evening, John Hunt finally arrived home after a day's work to a nightmare no one could have prepared him for.
That
His
guy's...
wife and
I wouldn't have... I reckon he would have had to have committed suicide at this point. I hope he didn't, but I can imagine he probably has. His entire family gets killed.
both children brutally murdered. Upon investigation, officers
And his
highlighted
wife.
how there were no signs of forced entry, no robbery, and no struggle at the door.
Why is the one
Whoever
outside?
did this must be someone the family trusted enough to let inside. Soon, the timeline came together for the CCTV footage of a familiar face buying the crossbow from a store and footage of the same man outside the Hunt's home.
W for the neighbors for the footage, by the way.
Finally,
Holy
the
shit.
weapon receipts confirmed what John expected. It was Kyle Clifford, and this was his revenge.
What's he
The
carrying, though?
revenge was the goal. Kyle should have only gone after Louise. Why target Caroline and Hannah? Psychological profiling suggests that in cases like this, offenders not only target the victims, but also those close to them. For them, it's a way to extend punishment, to make the victim suffer emotionally, even in death.
So he's just on the next level of fucked up. That's what you're telling me. This guy's not okay in the heat.
And if we look at the timeline of the deaths, Kyle eliminated Louise after her mother, Caroline. He raped her and kept her alive and made sure she would die with the guilt of her mother's death as well. The manhunt intensified with helicopters scanning the
policeman.
countryside and armed officers surrounding potential hideouts. Finally, after 22 hours, he was discovered
Holy shit.
miles away, hiding in a cemetery in Enfield, North London.
Told you it was
Kyle
anyone.
didn't want to be caught. He turned the crossbow and
Shot himself.
himself in the chest. Police quickly apprehended him, taking him straight to the hospital in extremely critical condition, barely showing signs of life. And after hours of surgery, the doctors managed to save him.
Thank fuck. And I don't mean that as in like, oh, thank fuck he's alive. What a... Oh. He deserves... I would say... Obviously, if I can't fire with fire, so I don't reckon he should die. Getting fire with fire is just stupid. I reckon he should live with what he's done. I reckon he should live with what he's done and live with that with the rest of his life.
However, that was just the beginning of karma's payback.
What do you mean?
Upon regaining consciousness, doctors told him the punishment before the judge. The bolt damaged his spine, and he'll have to spend the rest of his life
in a
bound to
wheelchair.
a wheelchair. Now karma had its
Deserves
way
it.
with him, but justice was still waiting for its turn. Months later, he faced trial at Cambridge Crown Court, where the investigators revealed the twisted last letters he had written, justifying how, since he couldn't live without Louise, he killed her. The jury declared Kyle guilty on all counts.
That makes no sense. So if he couldn't live without her, would he not kill himself? That makes absolutely. Obviously, he tried, but he killed her first. It would make no sense.
Triple murder.
But no, I could see what he. What I was talking about is, for example, as he said, in the afterlife or something. That's why he's killed her mum and her sister. They've done that so she can live with it after death. And I think he thinks if he kills himself, he's going to go see her after death. Because, one, in life, he wouldn't be able to get her because it was like she broke up with him and they didn't want anything to do with each other. So he killed her, and then wanted to kill himself to make sure he can go see her. And that, I'm just throwing out, I'm just saying that it might be that, but I don't think it would be.
False imprisonment and weapon offenses. Didn't even attend
Holy
his own
shit.
sentencing. But Judge Joel.
Have you been injured due to a slip, trip, or fall in the last 3 years? If the answer is yes, then you need
Oh,
to keep
wrong
it.
one. My bad,
If you
chat.
suffered from an injury that
Keep
was
making that mistake.
Benefin made sure he received a befitting sentence.
The
He
evidence
deserves
I
it.
have heard shows you to be a jealous man,
Jealous is an understatement. Very envious.
soaked in self-pity, a man who holds women in utter contempt. I therefore make clear at once that for each of these three, the sentence will be one of life imprisonment with a whole life order. That means a sentence from which you will never be released.
If you think he
Good.
deserved what he got,
Yes.
I allow you to press that subscribe button below. And let's move
Absolutely
on
he
to the
deserved
most
what he got.
disturbing case left. Faceless culprit. One evening, 50-year-old
He reminds me of someone. No, he reminds me of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Lincolnshire resident Alan Woods came home from work, closed his door, and disappeared from the world.
What?
No one heard any struggle nor any break-in, yet 3 days later, what police found inside his home would haunt them for the next 16 years. Alan was a kind of man one could never dislike. He was a part-time worker at Sainsbury in the nearby town of Bourne, earning extra cash as a gardener in a local prison. After separating from his wife Joanne years ago, Alan lived alone in a detached bungalow called Manor House in the tiny
Britain.
village of Lound. He never owed anyone money and had a fairly good relationship with his family. It was clear that the man had no enemies.
Sounds
But
pretty
on
good.
October 21st, 2009, something happened that painted an entirely different picture of the otherwise non-problematic Alan.
Okay.
That day,
I was going to say he
Alan
was drinking water there from the looks of it.
clocked out of work and stopped by
Or
a small
whatever that is.
pub
Doesn't
in Little
look fucking-
Bytham, the Willowbury Arms, for his usual drink with friends. When he reached home, someone was waiting for him. The identity of the person is still a mystery. Whether they entered the apartment together or someone was waiting for Alan inside, no one knows. But that was the last day Alan was seen alive.
How did they know somebody killed him
Over
though?
the next 3 days,
Like, so
when
they
he didn't
vanished
show
without
up
a sight.
at work, his colleagues began to worry. It wasn't usual for Alan to skip shifts, and after multiple calls went unanswered, a friend decided to check up on him. When no one answered the door, he decided to enter, immediately seeing Alan's lifeless body lying in the living room, tied up with sellotape.
Okay, so that's
He'd been
probably why.
stabbed multiple times in the head, and his throat had been sliced open. There was
Holy shit. So there's just absolute psychopaths out here, bro. This is why you gotta watch yourself. Generally, it can go like, stuff can happen like that, and that's you done. That is you gone.
clear evidence of torture. The autopsy reports revealed the true intensity of this brutal murder.
We had
Turns out
no
the deep
enemies.
cuts across the back of his neck weren't random. It was an attempted decapitation. Police called it the work of a psychotic mind, given how deliberate the injuries were. Many even suspected that Alan was tortured for a whole day and actually died the next day on the 23rd.
Holy shit, that's got to be the worst experience of all time. Generally got to be one of the worst things I've ever
Lack of any
heard.
signs of forced entry or struggle at the doorway suggests it could be someone Alan knew. But who could inflict such brutality?
I thought he had no enemies though. People might be jealous of that though. People might be envious that Alan has no enemies. So if they can't do it, if he can't have any enemies, then no, sorry, if they can't have any speak English, mate, what the fuck are you talking about? If they, holy shit, I just burped as well. If they can't have any enemies, neither can he. So they just thought, fuck it, we'll kill him, we'll torture him. It was psychotic. They're fucked in the head. Everyone that does it is fucked in the head.
And why? As detectives searched through the house, they noticed a key detail. Alan's bank cards were missing, and sure enough, new activity had appeared on his accounts within hours. The offenders were using Alan's cards at cash machines throughout Bourne, Stamford, and Sainsbury itself. CCTV footage of those areas showed a young white man aged 25 to 35 with short dark hair standing at the ATM.
I don't know everything because of this
Striped
quality.
Scarf and was walking with a slight limp after he made the withdrawals. There were no signs of remorse in his demeanor, and he stole about 300 to 400 pounds over 2 days.
Fuck, that's like nothing. That is literally like nothing. Obviously it's something, right, but to go out your way and murder someone for that is nothing for like what you've just done.
Even though the man's face was partially hidden, his body language indicated that he knew someone was watching him. He just didn't care. When the footage went viral, that man became renowned as the ATM man. Amidst the investigation,
What a shit name to be known as. The ATM man. Holy shit.
forensic evidence busted the myth that Alan was inflicted with suffering for a whole day. The result
Fucked.
suggested he had died the same day. But that wasn't all. The investigators also extracted a full male DNA profile from the sellotape and around the scene.
Yes.
There were blood-
Why? Yeah, by the way, the worst tape you can use of all time. You know how easily that is to put your fingerprints on a fucking bit of sellotape? Bro, you do it all the time. See the second you grab it? See literally the second you grab it, your full fingerprints on it. It's the shittest tape to use of all time. You'd use something else.
The footprints of size 8
Duct
Converse
tape or something.
trainers and tire tracks
Shit shoe, by the way.
outside the property.
Hi, did you just move here? Are you looking for a good way to meet
I
your
did
neighbors?
not.
Well, come
No.
check with us, and we'd love to show you.
The strangest of all was a fragment of a blue bus ticket stuck to the sellotape binding Alan's hands.
That makes no sense. Why the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. Why is there a part of a bus ticket? You just put it in your pocket.
The ticket was traced to a tiny regional company delaying buses which operated in nearby areas.
That's a brand new bus, by the way.
This indicated that the assailant was traveling locally by bus before the attack. With that kind of evidence, both physical and forensic, it should have been an easy case.
Should have.
DNA
60 grand
didn't
reward.
match anyone in the entire UK.
What?
In fact, it didn't match in international checks as well. It's disturbing how someone can leave behind that much of themselves and still can't be found. Lincolnshire police
Holy
launched
shit.
a full-scale
How is that even possible? How do you wipe yourself off the planet from the government? How do you like do that? If you just never go to doctors to get your blood taken. You never do anything with the police. You never do anything with the government your entire life from birth. His mum and dad were probably psychopaths then as well. Just never let him near the government.
operation which became one of the largest in the country's history. Over 20,000 people were interviewed and hundreds of potential suspects were swabbed for DNA. And when that didn't work, they took a different approach towards the case. Instead of asking who did it, they focused on the why behind it. Why was Alan, of all people, targeted?
So we're just letting the guy walk free. I reckon this Y is gonna figure out who it
It
is
couldn't
though.
have been a robbery, since Alan only had about 700 pounds in cash. You don't torture and nearly decapitate someone for 700 pounds, I hope.
Well, they only took
There
about
must
300,
be
400 out.
something that no one has been able to deduce. Locals came up with a theory of their own: mistaken identity. They believe the killer's true target was another Sainsbury manager who looked like Alan, and that Alan was murdered by mistake. As the years passed,
Who looks like
every
him, like, though?
promising lead in Alan's case went cold. He no
Okay,
longer
great.
appeared in headlines, but his family continued to search for him. Alan's bungalow stayed sealed for 2 years before being demolished, and his case still remains open. Even
Holy
with
shit,
new
so they never
forensic
found him.
technology and the CCTV footage that once promised answers, all the authorities ever found were more questions. And if you're thirsty for the disturbing,
So they
isn't
actually
fulfilled
never found
yet,
him.
well, you might want to check out this video.
So they actually never found him. Holy shit, that's actually scary. That could happen to anyone. That could happen to literally anyone. It could be any one person that happens to it next. It could be me. It could be anyone. Just don't know. It could be your time. Anyways, download your video.